Welcome to Whispers of Time, your window into the fascinating stories that have shaped the course of history. In today's episode, we will delve into the life of one of the most extraordinary figures of the ancient world, Julius Caesar. His rise from an ambitious young man to the most powerful ruler of Rome is a tale of genius, ambition, betrayal, and legacy that forever altered the destiny of the Roman Empire. From the turbulent streets of Rome to the battlefields of Gaul, we'll explore the twists and turns that led Caesar to the pinnacle of power. But as his ambition grew, so too did the dangers surrounding him. Join me on this journey as we uncover the rise of Rome's greatest leader and the complex legacy he left behind. If you enjoyed diving into the mysteries of history, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode of Whispers of Time. Let's embark on this journey together. Born in 100 BC into a modestly influential patrician family, Julius Caesar's early years were anything but ordinary. He was not born into immediate power, nor was he guaranteed success. His family, the Julii, belonged to the aristocracy, but had fallen out of favor in the political landscape of Rome. They were certainly influential, but their political ties weren't strong enough to place Caesar directly in the path to greatness. From a young age, Julius displayed ambition, intelligence, and a drive that set him apart from other youths of his age. His early years were marked by a chaotic political landscape. Rome was on the brink of collapse, with civil strife and political corruption running rampant. Caesar's family ties to the Popularis faction, which supported the common people, would play a critical role in shaping his early career. However, his rise to power wasn't without danger. At just 18 years old, after the death of his father, he faced a serious threat to his life. Rome was under the control of the dictator Sulla, a man whose harsh measures and disdain for the popularis led to the execution of several of Caesar's family members. Caesar himself was marked for death. Yet, even at this tender age, Caesar's political savvy helped him avoid death. He was pardoned, in part due to his family connections, and he fled to Asia Minor. After this episode, Caesar's political future was uncertain. However, he made a name for himself as an orator and legal mind. His journey would take him through various military and political roles: quaestor, aedile, and later Pontifex Maximus. Yet, Caesar understood that the true road to power lay in building alliances and gaining support from both the Senate and the people. In 68 BC, he embarked on his first major diplomatic mission, which would bring him to the far reaches of Rome's influence, Spain. While serving as quaestor, Caesar proved himself capable of handling military affairs. But more importantly, this was when he began to gather the loyalty of the legions. His charisma, combined with his political maneuvering, began to make him popular with the soldiers and the Roman people alike. After the tumultuous political scene in Rome, Caesar's greatest opportunity came in 58 BC, when he was appointed governor of Gaul, a massive region that stretched from the Alps to the English Channel. Gaul was a wild, untamed land, home to fierce Celtic tribes who had long resisted Roman authority. For Caesar, this appointment was more than just a political move. It was an opportunity to cement his military reputation and expand Rome's borders. Caesar's military genius began to shine in these years of conquest. His strategies were meticulous, his tactics revolutionary. In 58 BC, the Helvetii, a Celtic tribe from what is now Switzerland, attempted to migrate westward. Caesar decisively halted their progress, showing not just his tactical skills, but his ability to command and inspire his troops. As Caesar continued his campaigns across Gaul, he faced more formidable enemies, including the Germanic tribes and, most notably, the great Gallic leader, Vercingetorix. In 52 BC, Vercingetorix unified the Gallic tribes in an attempt to resist Roman conquest. Caesar, never one to back down from a challenge, faced Vercingetorix in a battle at Alesia, a battle that would become one of the most famous sieges in history. The Siege of Alesia was a masterclass in military strategy. Caesar built a massive network of fortifications to trap the Gallic forces inside. What followed was a remarkable show of determination and strategic genius. Caesar's forces surrounded the Gauls, with the final victory cementing Caesar's reputation as one of history's greatest military commanders. The fall of Alesia marked the end of serious resistance in Gaul, and Caesar returned to Rome as a hero. His success in Gaul not only gave him tremendous wealth, but also political influence that he would use to advance his career in Rome. However, this success would also bring him into direct conflict with some of the most powerful men in the Roman Republic. In 49 BC, Caesar faced a crucial decision: return to Rome as a private citizen or continue to wield the immense power of his army. The Senate, fearful of his growing power, demanded that Caesar disband his forces and return to Rome alone. This demand was a direct challenge to Caesar's authority and political survival. Caesar's decision to cross the Rubicon River with his army was more than just a military maneuver. It was an act of defiance, an irreversible move that set the stage for the collapse of the Roman Republic. In crossing the Rubicon, Caesar uttered the famous words, "The die is cast." With this, he made it clear that he was willing to risk everything to seize power. This bold decision sparked a civil war between Caesar's forces and those loyal to the Senate, led by Pompey. Caesar's march on Rome was swift, and Pompey, seeing the inevitable, fled the city. The subsequent battles would change the political landscape of Rome forever. Once Caesar was in control of Rome, he moved quickly to consolidate power. In 46 BC, he was appointed dictator for life, a title that symbolized his absolute control over the government. He became the ultimate authority in Rome, and his reign marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of what would later become the Roman Empire. Caesar implemented a series of wide-ranging reforms to stabilize Rome. He reorganized the Senate, extending its membership and redistributing power. He also made economic reforms, such as reducing the debt of Roman citizens, distributing land to veterans, and establishing new colonies across the empire. However, his most lasting reform was the introduction of the Julian calendar, which, in essence, created the calendar system we still use today. While Caesar's reforms improved the Roman state, they also alienated many of his fellow senators, particularly those who had supported the old ways of the Republic. Many saw Caesar's actions as the final step toward his coronation as king, a title the Romans had long abhorred. Once in power, Julius Caesar was determined to transform Rome into a stronger, more efficient empire. Despite the challenges of being constantly surrounded by enemies and political foes, his vision for Rome was far-reaching. His reforms spanned across nearly every facet of Roman society, from the calendar to the military, from economics to the legal system. One of the most enduring legacies of Caesar's rule was his reform of the Roman calendar. Before his intervention, the Roman calendar was a mess. The lunar cycle had not been properly accounted for, which meant the year often started in the wrong season. Caesar, along with the Alexandrian astronomer Sosigenes, created the Julian calendar, a solar-based system that aligned more accurately with the seasons. This reform lasted well into the Middle Ages, and we still use it today. Caesar was also committed to rebuilding Rome itself. He oversaw the construction of new temples, public buildings, and forums, some of which stood as symbols of Roman grandeur for centuries. His projects were not just about infrastructure, they were about sending a message to the Roman people. His leadership would shape Rome's future. In terms of social policies, Caesar enacted laws that redistributed land to veterans, alleviated debt among the poor, and made life easier for the citizens of Rome. His grants of land to his soldiers ensured loyalty, while his economic policies were aimed at strengthening the backbone of Rome's economy. In this way, he sought to stabilize the Roman Republic, albeit at the cost of its traditional political structure. Despite his successes and his popularity with the people and the army, Caesar's reign was not without opposition. Many Roman senators, especially those who were supporters of the old republic, felt that Caesar's reforms and his growing power threatened the very foundations of Roman liberty. To them, Caesar was not a liberator, but a tyrant in the making. As Caesar's power expanded, so did the resentment toward him from those who believed in the traditional Roman ideals of the Republic. These men, led by Brutus and Cassius, were plotting to take action against Caesar. Their plan, however, was not an easy one to execute. They had to navigate the complex political environment of Rome, with its shifting alliances and volatile personalities. Brutus, in particular, was a complex figure. He had been one of Caesar's closest allies, even serving under him in battle. Yet Brutus was also the son of Caesar's mistress, Servilia, and he was swayed by the arguments of his fellow senators who believed Caesar's power was too great. They feared that Caesar was not only planning to become king, but that he would eventually dismantle the Republic entirely. As the days drew closer to the famous Ides of March in 44 BC, the tension in Rome was palpable. Caesar's popularity had reached its zenith, and with it, so had the fear of those who sought to preserve the Republic. The Senate, traditionally a stronghold of power, had grown increasingly fearful that Caesar would undermine their influence and create a dictatorship. Even Caesar himself, as we know from history, seemed to sense the brewing storm. He had been warned by a soothsayer, "Beware the Ides of March," but he paid little attention to the prophecy. His confidence and arrogance led him to believe that nothing could stop him, not even the very Senate that he had once belonged to. And then, on the fateful day of March 15th, 44 BC, the plot against Julius Caesar came to fruition. On that day, Caesar entered the Senate building, unaware that his trusted allies were preparing to strike. The conspirators were waiting for the right moment, when Caesar was isolated, vulnerable, and surrounded by no one who could defend him. As Caesar walked into the Senate, he was greeted by the senators who had already decided on his fate. They surrounded him in a well-planned move, and one by one, they struck. The Senate chamber became a scene of chaos and betrayal. Caesar's final words, according to the playwright Shakespeare, were, "Et tu, Brute?" And you, Brutus. His shock at seeing Brutus, his close ally among the conspirators, speaks volumes about the personal nature of the betrayal. Whether or not those were actually his final words, the act was nonetheless a violent end to a powerful reign. Caesar's final marked the end of an era. The Roman Republic, already in turmoil, would never be the same. The assassination set off a wave of political upheaval that would eventually lead to the rise of the Roman Empire under Augustus, Caesar's adopted heir. After Caesar's end, the political landscape of Rome was thrown into disarray. The senators believed they had saved the Republic, but what followed was a period of civil war that only solidified Caesar's legacy. His death did not restore the Republic. Instead, it sparked a battle for power among Caesar's loyalists, including Mark Antony, his right-hand man, and Octavian, his grandnephew and adopted son. Caesar's supporters, led by Mark Antony, sought to avenge his death and maintain the power he had built. However, Brutus and Cassius, though they had hoped to restore the Republic, found themselves isolated. The political divisions and civil strife continued for years, eventually culminating in the Battle of Philippi, where the forces loyal to Caesar defeated the conspirators. Ultimately, the rise of Augustus, Caesar's adopted heir, would bring an end to the Republic. Augustus, the future first emperor of Rome, would establish the Roman Empire, and Caesar's name would live on, immortalized not just in history, but in the very title of Caesar, which became synonymous with the ruler of Rome. Julius Caesar's life and final have sparked centuries of debate. Was he a tyrant who sought to overthrow the Republic and concentrate power in his hands? Or was he a visionary who saw the future of Rome and sought to strengthen it for generations to come? The answer depends on how you view the balance between power and freedom. Caesar's legacy endures. His reforms, his military victories, and his personal charisma left an indelible mark on Rome and the world. While the Roman Republic may have fallen, the empire he helped to create would dominate the Western world for centuries. Julius Caesar is remembered not only as a political figure, but also as one of the greatest military minds in history. His campaigns, particularly in Gaul, demonstrated an unprecedented level of strategy and leadership. His victory in Gaul, stretching the Roman Empire's reach further than ever before, solidified his status as a military legend. Caesar's conquest of Gaul, known as the Gallic Wars, is arguably his most impressive military achievement. Over the course of 8 years, Caesar defeated several tribes, including the powerful Gallic leader Vercingetorix, whose alliance was a formidable force against Rome. What made Caesar so effective as a commander wasn't just his battlefield tactics, but his understanding of the morale of his soldiers. He knew how to inspire loyalty, even in the most dangerous situations. It's said that his soldiers admired him because he shared their hardships. He would often be seen marching beside them, sleeping in their tents, eating the same food, and leading them through some of the most brutal conditions. Caesar's brilliant use of siege warfare and his decisive victories in battles like Alesia, where he trapped Vercingetorix and his forces, proved his military brilliance. By using a combination of intelligence, quick movements, and psychological warfare, Caesar was able to crush his enemies. His detailed accounts of the Gallic Wars, written in Commentari de Bello Gallico, remain a key resource for understanding Roman military strategy. His conquest of Gaul not only expanded Roman territory, but also gave Caesar a massive army, a powerful reputation, and invaluable resources. But it also made him immensely popular with the Roman people. His victories were sung in the streets, and the spoils of war filled Rome's coffers. The life of Julius Caesar is one of complexity, ambition, and profound impact. Whether seen as a hero who brought stability to Rome, or a tyrant who sought to consolidate power for himself, there is no denying his significance in shaping the course of history. Caesar's legacy, filled with both triumph and tragedy, continues to resonate. His influence extended far beyond his own time, and the empire that followed his death would shape the world for centuries to come. Whether one views him as a liberator or a despot, Julius Caesar remains one of the most important figures in the history of Western civilization. If you found this deep dive into Julius Caesar's life and legacy captivating, don't forget to subscribe to Whispers of Time. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this journey, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Was Caesar a hero, a tyrant, or something in between? We'd love to hear your perspective on this fascinating figure from history.